Welcome back to the channel. My name's Tom, and today I'm taking a look at another one of New Jersey's many popular and successful malls. This is Bridgewater Commons in Bridgewater Township, New Jersey. And don't forget, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, and hit that notification bell. I've got a lot more mall videos, store walkthroughs, and of course flea market videos coming up. And if you really want to help support the channel, please check out my Patreon account, which is also called Flea Bitten Adventures. Thanks. So this mall opened in 1988. It was designed and originally owned by the Hain Company. However, since 2023, it's been owned by Pacific Retail Capital Partners. The original anchor stores were Hain's, not surprisingly, Macy's, and Stearns. Today, Macy's is the only remaining original anchor store. From what I've read, this mall has generally been successful for most of its life. I don't believe it's ever been considered to be a dead or a dying mall. In fact, in 2022, the mall had a vacancy rate of only 12 to 13%, which is not bad at all, especially considering that most malls were struggling during that time, due to the pandemic, of course. So now come along with me and let's see how it's doing today. And for those of you wondering, this was filmed on a Monday at about 2 p.m. back in May of 2025. The first thing that struck me about this mall was this amazing cavernous center court. It's 3 levels. It's surrounded by planters, which I think these are real plants actually. And it's got this beautiful skylight. And where I'm standing right now, which I actually didn't know while I was there, used to be an elevator. There was a giant glass elevator right here that got removed, I believe, around 2008 during the mall's most recent renovation. Why they removed the elevator, I have no idea. Now, while this mall has done well for most of its life, there have been a few setbacks over the years. In 2008, the mall's owner at the time, General Growth Partners, aka GGP, filed for bankruptcy protection, but were thankfully able to exit bankruptcy protection in 2010 after Brookfield made a $2.6 billion investment in the company. Brookfield acquired GGP in 2018, and then JP Morgan Asset Management and the New York Teachers Retirement System acquired the mall from Brookfield in 2019. In the years since 2010, the mall has added numerous new stores, restaurants, and entertainment options, and the mall seemed to be doing fairly well, up until 2020, of course, when the pandemic hit. Likely related to this, the mall was nearly foreclosed on in late 2022. According to the articles I found online, the mall at the time had an appraised value of $204 million, but had over $300 million in debt. As a result, the mall was sold to its current owners, Pacific Retail Capital Partners, in 2023. I'm not too familiar with Pacific Retail Capital Partners, but according to an article I found online, they allegedly have a history of turning malls into mixed-use properties, which often include residential units, hotels, medical offices, grocery stores, parks, etc. And this has some people concerned that they may intend to eventually demolish all or at least a portion of the mall. However, from what I've read, the mall's owners currently plan to keep the mall as primarily a retail destination for the foreseeable future. So hopefully that means that the mall as we know it isn't going anywhere, at least not anytime soon. And here's the Macy's, which, as I mentioned, is the only remaining original anchor store. It's been here since 1988. I think it actually opened maybe a month or two before the mall itself. In my opinion, based on what I've read about this mall and what I've seen with my own eyes, I think I would consider this mall to be somewhere between thriving and doing just fine. As you'll see, there are a few vacancies, especially on the first floor, but not nearly enough for me to think that this mall is struggling or dying. And while I wouldn't say the mall was packed, there were more customers here than I've seen at a lot of the other malls in the area. This mall is also very well maintained, and it does appear that the owner wants it to succeed, unlike some other mall owners out there that will remain nameless. Another positive for this mall is that in 2022 a zoning change was made that allows the mall to add more entertainment and amusement type attractions such as a Dave & Buster's, Round 1, other large arcades, and even possibly indoor amusement centers and themed restaurants. In my experience, malls that include these types of businesses and attractions do seem to ultimately be more successful than malls that don't have them. And I think what it comes down to is there a reason why someone should go to the mall rather than just ordering something online? And if the mall has entertainment options other than just a movie theater, then I think that will give people a reason to visit malls again. A perfect example of this is the American Dream Mall, which isn't really too far from this one, and the Mall of America. If more malls were like that, I know I'd be visiting them more, and not just to film videos for YouTube. I was, of course, able to find out what used to be in the various anchored locations, but I'm not really sure what some of these other smaller stores used to be, like this one here on the left. So if you know what used to be in these stores in the past, please let me know. And they've got an Apple store, and I know somebody left a comment once on one of my videos that if a mall has an Apple store, it's got to be doing well. Not sure if that's always true, but it might be. This is where the original anchor store Haynes was located from 1988 until 1989, so it was only there about a year. It then became Lord & Taylor in 1989, and then the Lord & Taylor closed in 2020, and it's been vacant ever since, except for, I think, a short period of time it was a vaccination center, but I don't think anything else has been in there since then. And I wasn't able to find anything online about any concrete plans for any future businesses moving in there, other than a few people did mention that, you know, with the zoning change that maybe a Dave & Buster's would go in there, or I think there was some mention of some sort of golf location. Top Golf maybe was the name of it, I'm not sure. But I don't think any of those things are really set in stone at this point. Straight ahead where the Bloomingdale's is today, that's where the original anchor store Stearns was located from 1988 until 2001. It then became Bloomingdale's in 2002. And we've got more plants. You know, it's really confusing to me why many modern malls don't have any plants anymore, or water fountains. I kind of get the water fountain thing for, like, it would be expensive to maintain, but why they can't include just a few potted plants? I don't know. But I think it really livens up the mall. Alright, so now let's head on up to the third floor. And then we'll hit the first floor last. This mall has been renovated a few times over the years. The most recently, like I mentioned, I think was 2008, if I'm not mistaken. But a lot of the features here, I believe, are original to the mall. Like these lamps here, I believe these are original. And I would guess that the railings are original as well, because most modern railings in malls would not be this ornate. They're not particularly ornate, honestly, but compared to most railings in modern malls, these would be considered ornate. So I think, and I could be wrong, but I think these railings are original to the mall as well. And here's the old third level of Lord & Taylor. And one of the things I find unusual about the old Lord & Taylor buildings is that most of them still have their signage up. Most of them still say Lord & Taylor on them. And that's not the case at most other empty stores. Like if it were an old Sears, odds are it would no longer have the Sears sign up. Some of them do, but most of them have the signs taken down. And like old abandoned Macy's buildings usually don't say Macy's on them anymore. So why all the Lord & Taylors, or most of the Lord & Taylors, still have their signs up, I have no idea. I have no idea at all. If anybody knows the reason, please let me know. Coming up on the left is the AMC movie theater. Here's the food court. The food court also underwent a renovation around 2008. I understand they added new lighting, flooring, new seating, and I think they also renovated the restaurants themselves, but I couldn't find any pictures of what this used to look like before the renovation, so I'm really not sure what they changed. The food court seems to be doing very well, and like I've said before, I think that's an indication of how well a mall is doing. Not entirely, but it's part of the picture. And the only vacant restaurant is this one straight ahead, but as you can see, it says coming soon Popeyes. Not sure when the Popeyes is opening or if it has opened since I filmed this, but we've either got 0 to 1 vacant restaurants in this food court, which is extremely good. This part of the mall kind of reminded me of a slightly scaled down version of Palisades Center Mall in West Nyack, New York. Very similar feel, especially this end of it.
No, seriously, I'm here with you.
Do you file it?
This store on the right has a very interesting entrance. It's got tiles in front of it, but they almost look like pebbles. And as I mentioned, the first floor does seem to have the most number of vacancies. My only guess as to why that might be is that it just probably gets less foot traffic, as I would personally consider the second floor to be like the main level, and then this almost feels like a basement. Celine's Spa. That is sure a fancy spa. And here's Bella Bridal. I'm pretty sure if my mom was with me right now doing this walkthrough, she would be mentioning how ugly these dresses are, or at least some of them are. And I'd probably agree with her. Alright, so there's the inside of the mall, and once again, I would say that this mall seems to be doing just fine, possibly thriving. Really hard to say. It's doing very well, I would say, overall. But if you agree with that or disagree with that, please let me know in the comments. And as always, before we go, we're going to do a drive around of the mall and see what it looks like from the outside. And here's the Macy's, which has been here since opening day. And the only change that I've been able to see over the years to that Macy's is that the sign that's black now used to be green. But other than that, it looks pretty much identical. Here's where we entered the mall, and from what I understand, this was added during the 2008 renovation. I have no idea what it looked like before that, though, because I just couldn't find any pictures of it online. In fact, for this mall, except for the picture of the elevator I found, the oldest photos were probably from like 10 to 15 years ago, which is kind of odd for such a big mall like this. Usually I can find, tons of vintage photos, but they're slim pickings for this mall. Here's the outside entrance to the movie theater. And here's the Bloomingdale's, which was Stern's up until 2001. This is where Haynes was located from 1988 to 1989. The Lord & Taylor went in 89 and then closed in 2020. And like all the other Lord & Taylors, it still has its sign up 5 years later. And there you have it. That is Bridgewater Commons in Bridgewater Township, New Jersey. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, and hit that notification bell. I've got a lot more mall videos, store walkthroughs, flea market videos, and who knows what else coming up. And if you really want to help support the channel, check out my Patreon, which is also called Flea Bitten Adventures. Thanks to everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.